Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We have an amazing episode today. You are not going to want to miss it. We have a local legend, Coach Joe Spano out of Mercyhurst University. He's been the head baseball coach for over 20 years. He's amassed an amazing record there, 18 consecutive winning seasons, has an amazing family, 4 kids, lovely wife. Everyone has been successful in this family. I really look forward to this episode because I'm going to get to learn a lot more about Joe and kind of what makes him tick. He's going to get to know a little bit more about me, what makes me tick, and make sure at the end you stay tuned to the Sawbones Challenge, as always. I'm a little scared because I heard rumor mill, he's actually a basketball guy, and that was his primary love in terms of athletics and sports to watch, so I could be in trouble, so stay tuned.
All nurses to the nurses station.
Lawless country people are real close family. Lately some of my kinfolk don't get around too good, you see. When that doctor asked them, son, how'd you get in this condition? They says, hey, soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. They wanna know, doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hey Sawbones, my story, my passion. I'm Ryan Molly, orthopedic surgeon, cutter of bones, entrepreneur, business owner, most importantly, loving husband and father of 3 young and very active boys. And I am extremely excited today to host this guest. For those of you in the Erie area, those of you in the Mercyhurst community, and even the larger community of Northwest Pennsylvania, he really doesn't need any type of introduction. He is well known in the area. He's been part of athletics in Northwest Pennsylvania for over 20 years. It's hard to believe that it's been that long. And he is the head baseball coach at Mercyhurst University. I almost call it a college because that's what it was when I graduated from there, but would really excited to just introduce him. Great individual, great coach, puts so much into the community in terms of athletics. He's an amazing husband, father, 4 kids?
4 kids.
So without further ado, Joe Spano, by the way.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you.
So we kind of talked a little bit about what we're going to do, kind of the format of things. But the way that I always like to start this out is really to learn more about you, because I know who you are. And most of my guests that I've had on here thus far, I've known quite a bit about them. I know less about you. I've seen your CV. I'd like to kind of go through just a couple of those highlights before you, because you're probably not going to be as, you're going to be super humble, I'm sure. But I'm just looking down through your career highlights here. And sorry, I have to read this, but there's so many of them. I'm going to highlight some of the top ones that I see. But the Chuck Tanner National Collegiate Coach of the Year. He was inducted to the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame for the Erie chapter. Erie Times News Mail Sports Person of the Year. He's a 3-time ABCA Region Coach of the Year, 4-time NCBWA. I don't know what those initials mean, but Region Coach of the Year, 3-time ECAC Coach of the Year, 7-time Conference Coach of the Year. These 2 are probably the most impressive to me. He is the all-time wins leader at Mercyhurst Athletics history with 742 wins and 433 losses. And this one stands out the most to me, 18 consecutive winning seasons. So, Joe, let's hear a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what brought you to Erie, Pennsylvania, and kind of all those little steps in between.
Yeah, so I grew up in New York City area in Queens. I started my college education at Boston University, played on the baseball team. After my sophomore year, the baseball program was cut for Title IX reasons. And on a spring trip or something along the way, Boston University had played this school, Lewis University. Didn't know anything about it. Thought it was an easy win, and they ended up just annihilating us. And it was one of the first. Boston University was Division I, Lewis was Division II, and just wondering about this program, and they were just this amazing Division II, and just started to realize all the resources that Division II and this whole world of Division II. And at the end of my sophomore year, the program's cut, and one of the first calls I get is from Lewis University. They said, "We heard you cut the program."
Where is that located?
It's right outside of Chicago. It's in, like the Joliet.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, about 30, 45 minutes southwest of Chicago.
Got it.
So they just started talking about all the players they've had drafted and all the championships they won, and I think they were number one in the country. And Boston University was just a great academic school and a lot of fun. But I was so impressed with Lewis University and their drive to win and the way they ran this program. And, I decided I'm going to go to Lewis University. I'm going to transfer to Lewis University, finish my last 2 years of college baseball at Lewis University.
What time frame is this? Like what year?
This was 1995.
Okay.
So that was my sophomore year. And, just like I said, I was really impressed. It was a very difficult, it was far away.
Yeah.
I had family in Boston. We had a lot of fun. Our whole family was always like Yankees, Red Sox rival. We'd all call each other, and Jets and Giants and Patriots. And it was just a lot of fun. And this was totally new. This was a really small campus. But I wanted to, just play baseball at a winning program, similar to what I experienced in high school. And I was just blown away by the coaches and just thought that this was just going to be a great opportunity.
So you moved to the Windy City.
So I moved to the Windy City, and I came up early for transfer orientation, and the soccer team happened to be up early for their training camp. And met my wife the first couple of days there. She was on the soccer team. And
so 2 collegiate athletes.
Yeah.
That's some pretty good genes right there.
Yeah, my wife, pretty unbelievable. They didn't even have a women's soccer team in her high school. She went to an inner city Chicago high school.
Wow.
She played on the boys team. So she had a walk-on at Lewis University, but they were a very, very strong soccer program, and the coach was awesome, and he ended up giving her a scholarship. They went to, I think, 2 Elite Eights.
Wow.
And they actually played Mercyhurst.
I was going to say, I feel like
yeah.
the volleyball team at Mercyhurst played Lewis University.
Right, yeah. Point. So there was definitely a Lewis Mercyhurst rivalry going on in a few sports, but the soccer programs were really top of the region. And my senior year, I think we actually played Mercyhurst in baseball.
Okay.
So I'd never even heard of it. So we ended up playing Mercyhurst, and we ended up playing Mercyhurst in the regional, and then I graduated. I didn't get drafted, but I was signed to play independent professional baseball. My wife went on to law school for a little bit. And
where did she go? Was she in Chicago?
Went to Thomas Cooley in Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
So
what position were you in college baseball?
So at Boston University, I just played first base.
Okay.
When I transferred to Lewis, they moved me all over first, third, left, right. I was a hitter. Mm-hmm. I didn't really care that much about defense. My whole life, hitting was what I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have focused on defense a little bit more, but but Lewis, they kind of plugged me around different places. The team was really good. Just different ways to get my bat in order. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I ended up meeting my wife there. Coach Joe Giordano left Mercyhurst in the fall of '97 to become the head coach at Pitt. The Lewis University assistant coach became the head coach at Mercyhurst. And I just remember him. I had just finished playing pro ball, thinking about what I was going to do. And he calls and he says, "Hey, I got the job at Mercyhurst. Remember we played them last year?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "I need someone out on the East Coast to be, to be my assistant." And I just, I thought of you. And, we didn't have Google Maps we had one cell phone in our house. And I just remember, he just must have thought Pennsylvania, New York, they're near each other. Well, get in the car 7 hours later with my old school map.
Yeah.
And
did you have triptychs? Remember those?
We didn't have anything. I mean, it was literally old school paper map.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, where am I going? This is so far. This is a 7-hour ride. And then even though it was January, you drive in those gates and it's like, this place is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
so what year was that? Because you graduated, Lewis, probably 97.
Yeah. So it was like, it was in the winter of 97. I think it might've been like December or January.
Okay.
Probably January.
Wow.
Probably right after Christmas. And I just can't believe the hospitality, that everyone showed towards me, and people were excited that you were there. And I just kind of fell in love with the place. And it was supposed to be a full-time job, but I don't know if you knew, like Mr. Russo and Dr. Garvey, it wasn't a full-time job, but they kind of figured out a
Pete
way.
Russo, right?
Pete Russo,
yeah.
He just figured out a way to make it work. And he's like, we like you, and, we want you to be here, and just worked at it every day. I mean, we just got to spend a lot of time with the guys. It was just, we inherited a really great group of guys. You may have gone to school with some of them. And
well, it's funny because actually one of my patients, literally I did her knee yesterday. I was talking to her this morning. She goes, yeah, my son-in-law, Nick Kulik, wanted to say hello to you because I played intramural basketball against him. But
that's the group of guys that remember you.
Yeah, he was there at that time, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Nick.
So were you the assistant for a couple of years?
I was the assistant for a couple of years, and then it just, coaches left and things happened. And I just remember Pete Russo calling me in, and I was 24 years old, and he said, I know you're young and everything, and I don't expect anything, but what do you think if you took over the job? And I was blown away. He said, the guys really like you, and I'll work with you on things. Don't worry about it. And,
so what year was that?
It was 99. It was the spring of 99.
Yeah, so that was because I graduated high school in 97. So
yep.
That would have been probably between my sophomore and junior years that you transitioned that head coach position. I remember you being there and being the head coach. And then, when I came back, because I was gone for a while, and I'm like, well, he's still there. Like most other coaches that I knew from that time were not there anymore. Right. Yeah. Regardless of the sport.
Yeah. We had a young group of coaches, and we're really close. We were really close with the admissions people. The athletic trainers were like some of my best friends. I don't know if Lance was there.
Yeah. Lance Monksgard, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable group of people. And we were just really close, really good friends. And it felt like
Marianne Love.
Marianne still
Sue,
one of my best friends in the world. Yeah.
Brad.
Yeah.
All that crew. Was Matt Innocenti there when you were there?
I think so. Yeah.
And then Amy. I'm trying to remember her.
Yeah, I remember Amy from Florida.
Yeah. She always was wearing Gators gear.
Yes, she was. She's always wearing a Gator.
That's Amy, was it Stevens?
It might have been. Yeah, Amy Stevens.
Yeah. This is like a trip down memory lane right now.
Yeah, it's all coming back to me, but it's just one of those things. And then my wife decided maybe law school's not for me, and she came out, and she was actually the residence director at Northeast campus. I know that was really growing. Okay. And our baseball field was out at the Northeast campus.
Sure.
So it was a great fit. And then she became really close with a lot of people at Mercyhurst Northeast. She kind of grew with the campus too. And then we started having kids. She stopped working for a little bit, but
and I'll ask some of these when I ask some of your personal questions. But you have 4 kids. Yep. Is Jillian your oldest?
Jillian's the oldest. Yep.
And she is
22.
22. Yep. Okay, so you guys started your family. You were in your mid-20s. I'm kind of trying to do the math here.
About 25. Yeah.
Okay.
25, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, my time at Mercyhurst was honestly some of the best years of my life.
Yeah.
You kind of always look back on things and you say, if I could go back to a certain period of time, I mean, I wouldn't change what I have now for that, but if you could have a day, just go back and see some of your buddies and friends and, where life was a little bit simpler. You didn't have all the responsibilities.
I can imagine. I remember you really well from I was the intramural director, and I remember you being at the gym a lot, both from the training room and when you were a student, the student trainers were really involved. You had a lot of hands-on experience, and I think if you look at how well our Mercyhurst students do in the world, and how successful they've been, I think a lot of that is to, great professors, and also just the hands-on experience that you guys were able to.
Yeah. I mean, as I was mentioning before we get started with this, always loved playing basketball. Would have loved to have played college basketball. My sister Kristen played there from 94 until 98. They had some really good teams. I know her freshman year, I think they went to the Elite Eight with like Teresa Zumagala and that crew. But I wasn't good enough to play even, D2. I could have maybe sat on the bench, but the athletic training curriculum was so demanding, right? I mean, we had a sport every season and we had to be at every practice. We had to travel with the teams, but when we had to go to practice, we had to get there an hour early because we had to do treatments before. And then we generally had to stay an hour afterwards to clean everything up and do treatments afterwards. So it was pretty demanding. There was a couple. You remember Nick Potter?
Nick was one of Nick by himself took a full team to Florida on a spring trip and was there for 10 days with us and just didn't know. Like, I'm not surprised where he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just.
So for those that you don't know, Nick, he's at Duke now. Yeah. He's their head athletic trainer, and I think he does some sports performance stuff down there.
He does, yeah.
I mean, he was at I remember watching, I think it was the Brazil Olympic Games. Yeah. They're doing the opening ceremony and they're bringing the torch in, and the Coach K is walking in with the team, and you see all the NBA players, Carmelo Anthony, this person, that person. And all of a sudden I see Nick Potter walking in with them as part of the opening ceremony. I'm like, I know him. Yeah. And then do you remember Greg Beato?
I do, yeah.
So Greg played volleyball. Him and I were roommates, and his wife, Susan, her maiden name was Ghanem, but married name now Beato. She was a ATC student and a pre-physical therapy student, just like Nick was. Right. And, they're married now. He's the head team position at Virginia Tech for the men's basketball team. So he sees Nick because they're both in the ACC several times a year, and they'll send me photos when they play each other. So
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable.
So you thirsty?
Sure.
I mean, we're doing some talking, so I always do what's called a beverage break. So I've done some research into what Coach Joe. Do you like Skipper, or what's your?
I like Joe. Thank you.
I was texting Anthony.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
We're doing Guinness.
All
here.
right.
So I had Allie Brace.
That's right.
She's our new kind of marketing director, and she does a lot of kind of like personal assistant things. I said, I'm doing a podcast episode tonight. Yeah. So she brought a bunch of stuff over, and I had her go and run and get some Guinness. So.
Thank you. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So
awesome.
Hopefully we're not going to explode all over the place here, but. So cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Salut.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. All right. So kind of the next thing that we generally do is our Q&A session. Yep. So what you'll do is you'll ask me 6 questions, 3 business first, then 3 personal. Then we'll do a role reversal. I'll do the same thing back towards you. The one cool little thing that you can do is if there's a question that I ask you that you don't really like, you can veto it.
Okay.
I will not your nephew veto, but and I will tell you this is episode 6 or 7. I think it's 7 actually, and not one person has vetoed any questions yet. So no pressure.
All right.
All right, but fire away.
So not to start right off with the business questions, but my dad's in New York City. He's had this this knee that kind of dislocates ever since he's a kid, in and out. It would always cause him some pain at the time, and then it would kind of go away. But he's at the point now where he's in a lot of pain.
Needs to get it fixed.
We've been talking about someone who's reliable that can do something like this, and obviously I thought of you. What's it like to are you able to treat patients that are out of state? Like, what would that be like if you were able to do something like that?
Yeah, no, actually I do it more frequently than you would think, because I was in practice in Michigan for about 4.5, 5 years before moving back here in 2015. And when I moved back here, I had probably 5 or 6 patients that I had done one knee or one hip, and they wanted me to do the second one, and they would drive out for that.
Yeah.
I have tons of patients from New York. I had a patient just a couple months ago from Corning, New York, where they make, the glass.
Yeah.
And I think that's near the Finger Lakes, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And he came down. I believe he was a hip, maybe it was a knee. And then I've had several patients from Florida, right? I mean, maybe they're snowbirds, but You know, they could have easily had it down in Florida, but they chose to come up here to get it done. So, yeah, I mean, does he live full time there?
He does, but he comes up, spends a lot of time with us.
Yeah.
So, we've been talking about it, and I was wondering, is that something that
we're getting
is doable?
It absolutely is. I mean, we get people from Ohio too, but generally what I would recommend is maybe that first week and a half-ish, maybe have him stay kind of close to here during his initial recovery. But after that, I think he can probably get back home and he'll be fairly independent.
Yeah.
And I mean, most patients are, pretty surprised how well and independent they are doing just even after a week. You're usually not even on a walker or cane. Yeah,
that would be awesome if he would. I know he's done quite a bit. My dad spends a lot of time. Both my parents, they spend a lot of time up here. You might have even
I met your mother this past weekend or the weekend before up at the baseball fields.
Yeah, but I was wondering, it would be nice.
Yeah. What I would say is like maybe get his X-rays. I can review them and kind of just give you kind of my thoughts based upon that. And then if even if he wants to do, I've done this a lot. Like I'll do like a first eval, almost like Zoom wise. So you can maybe get to know me before making the trip out. And I don't want to say wasting his time, but like maybe get to know my personality a little bit to see if we jive. Cause I think that's a big thing that, patients don't really realize sometimes is like, they want to make sure that they're choosing the right surgeon, and us as surgeons, we want to make sure that we can choose our patients too.
Sure,
right. And to make sure that it's a good fit, like any kind of relationship.
Awesome.
So,
so what's been the secret sauce for you for being able to have, two practices now that are like 45 minutes to an hour apart? Like, how are you able to, manage such a complicated operation, so to speak, in two locations that are a good distance apart?
Great leaders, absolutely great leaders. Right. So, I think when I first came out of the gates, it was when you're first coming out of your residency and your fellowship, you're so focused on like just doing the surgeries, right? Because you don't have your fellowship directors as your security blanket. So you're very, very hands-on with that. And the business side of things isn't even something that's in your head. And we've never been taught that stuff either, unless you took business courses in undergrad. But med school, residency, fellowship, you're kind of like observing it, but you're not formally taught that stuff. So I would say since 2015, when I really started, when we moved back to this area, I started to get very, very involved in like the business side of things. And in 2017, I formed Whole Health, and we opened our doors on January 1st of 2018. And from then till now, which has only been 5 years, I've learned a tremendous amount about the business side of things and the absolute importance of having a great team and leaders, because you realize like you can't be everywhere at the same time, just like yourself, right? Like you're the head coach, but I'm sure you have a great pitching coach. I'm sure you have a great hitting coach, great fielding coaches. It takes a unit, and you need to work in unison to be able to have that success. Because even though I have the Erie office, I never see patients there. I'm always down in Meadville or doing surgery. So absolutely, hands down, it's the great leadership team that we have.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So from a vision standpoint, what's kind of like the next thing for you? I know you're starting to, you've obviously been very successful in what you do, what you've gone to school to do, what you've been trained to do, and I see that you really enjoy getting out and trying new ventures and stuff. What's kind of like the next thing that you've been thinking about doing? Yeah.
So, I mean, love my day job, right? I plan to do that for a very long period of time, as long as I'm physically able and I'm able to enjoy it and I'm still good at it, and patients still want me to do that. But my goal has always been to not just be kind of like that regional expert, which, and I'm not being cocky or arrogant, but I think we are that region expert now, but starting to expand that. I have a huge passion, two things really, huge passion for really private practice and trying to encourage and hopefully teach younger physicians, particularly orthopedic surgeons, but it doesn't have to be orthopedic surgeons. It could be any field of medicine, that you can still run and operate a very successful private practice. Now, it looks very different than it did 5, 10, definitely much different than 20 years ago, because reimbursements back then were very, very good. Professional reimbursements for hip and knee replacements have gone down for the past 20 years significantly by 85%. I don't know any jobs that take 85% pay cuts.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out ways to deliver amazing care while still being able to keep your doors open. And we are the last private practice in Northwest Pennsylvania, orthopedic wise. Very proud of it, but it's very challenging. Again, you have to have great leadership. So I want to be able to like help swing that pendulum, because young physicians have decided to go kind of the hospital employment route, which is fine. It's never anything that I was interested in. I didn't want to be told what to do, how to do it, and by somebody that wasn't in the trenches doing it themselves. So as you mentioned, I have a huge vision, entrepreneurial. So I like to be able to do what I want to do, and I don't want my patients to be able to get the care that I want, that I think that my parents would deserve, without exception. And then the second thing is really starting to branch out, kind of like what you brought up with your father, is start to create more of a destination type of environment. Like we have some amazing partnerships. So we have Whole Health, which is an orthopedic practice, but our hospital, Edgewood Surgical Hospital, is hands down the place that you would want to go for your hip or knee replacement. It's a private physician-owned hospital, single occupancy room, so you don't have a roommate. And all we do at this hospital are orthopedic cases and some ophthalmology cases, as well as some pain cases. But I would say 75, 80%, if not higher, is orthopedics. So you don't have infections, you don't have sick people, you don't have an ER. And we also have a partnership with a resort in Warren, Ohio called the Grand Resort. So I have patients that are staying at this very luxurious resort. It's a lot like Nemacolin.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there or heard of it? It's a kind of a golf destination.
Yeah.
And you and your wife should definitely go down to the Grand Resort sometime. My wife and I will take the boys down.
Yeah.
It's very friendly, family friendly. They have tons of golf courses, great restaurants, lots of recreation. There's a rec center with 3 indoor tennis courts, basketball, golf simulators. It's awesome.
Sounds awesome. That's a great vision.
Yeah. So I kind of want to be able to go to maybe some bigger companies and say, hey, because I know a lot of people are very frustrated with their insurance companies. Their deductibles are going up, and saying, if we could bundle this all together in a package for you, would you be interested in contracting with us for all of your patients' orthopedic needs? And I think there's a lot of even local companies that would be interested in doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
How about personal questions?
Well, something I always kind of wondered since you came back to this region, was I guess, first of all, what's it like to be back home? I know it's been a little bit now. What's it like? And I guess also, was this part of your plan? Was it part of your plan to come back? What was it like for your wife and I think your wife's from Michigan.
Yeah.
What's it like for your wife and for the kids? And, what was the transition like? And, I guess, was this part of your grand
I'll answer your second question first. This was not part of the plan.
Yeah.
When I came out of my fellowship in 2010, 11, I interviewed 2 places. I interviewed at St. Vincent in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I interviewed in Michigan. Both were private practices. I had no interest in hospital employment. I wanted to be private. And, we looked at both options. And family was so incredibly important to me. So I either wanted to be close to my family or to Karen's family. And at the end of the day, we chose, I think the business opportunity was better in Michigan, but I also felt this sense. I was already familiar. I did my residency there. We had spent 1 year in Columbus during my fellowship, but wanted to be close to, my wife's family. Because at that time, we had our first son, Anthony, in 2011. And I graduated fellowship just a couple months after that. And, our kids are the only source of grandchildren for my in-laws, right, whereas my parents have 13 grandkids. Yeah. Right. So it was pretty easy that way. This was never part of the plan moving back here. Once we were there, I figured that was what it was going to be. And in 2015, I think it was February or March, I actually became a partner in my practice in Michigan. And then literally a couple months later, the stars aligned for an opportunity here. And my wife was the one that said, really, I should explore it. And then a week later, she was 8 months pregnant. I think she had some chemicals floating through her brain, pregnancy chemicals. And she's like, Yeah, no, we're not doing that. I'm like, wait a second, I'm excited about it now.
Yeah.
And I remember taking a legal pad. I drew a line down the middle, pros, cons,
yeah.
and she did the same thing. And we went through this for about a month, 4 weeks, right before she delivered Luca, our youngest. And at the end of the day, the pros far outweighed the cons. And she finally started coming around, and she was like, Ryan, this is the opportunity for you. Yeah. So, but your first question was, how is it like? It was amazing. You know, when I first came back, being able to practice in Meadville, Pennsylvania, which is kind of my hometown, being able to take care of people that helped raise me. I mean, I did my high school French teacher's hip. I did her husband's hip or knee. Several people from church. My best friend, Jared Oakes, I did his mom's hip several years back. You know, just family, friends. A buddy that was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. You know, Justin Johnson, local. He's my age. Yeah. I've done a knee and 2 hips on him. Wow. He's 44. Wow. Right. So it just gaining that trust. And I think a lot of that was, you know, just my family was well known in the area, and just have a tremendous amount of love and respect for my mom and my dad. And I feel like they did an amazing job of raising us 4 kids. I have 3 older sisters, but themselves creating like a very good, solid reputation for themselves. Yeah. So I almost felt like people trusted me almost by proxy because of my parents, and they knew my family and they knew my grandparents. And so it was awesome coming back.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So you're a big basketball fan, a basketball player. I could tell you're still a big basketball fan.
Yeah.
Your kids play multiple sports, but we know they all play baseball.
Yeah.
So right now, what's your favorite sport? What's your family's favorite sport? Which way would you be leaning for your kids to play?
Yeah.
You're sitting with a baseball coach. So.
I know. I feel like there's a lot of pressure. There's 3 cameras here. And so I will tell you. So growing up, I played basketball nonstop and a little bit of baseball. I mean, I'm talking maybe into like 2nd grade. And then I'm not sure when that transition from like coach pitch to kids pitch occurs. That's when I stopped playing baseball. Yeah. When I was like, wait a second, that kid's pitching? He's going to hit me. I'm done. And so it was very interesting that all 3 of our boys now play baseball. But in high school, I played volleyball.
Right.
And in Meadville, volleyball they're both spring sports, baseball and volleyball. And in Meadville, and especially where I went at Maplewood, you played baseball if you couldn't make the volleyball team. It was a bigger sport there. But I will tell you, baseball is probably becoming one of my favorite sports to watch. I used to think it was the most boring sport. You know, you hear people talk about that. Oh, I can't watch it. And but when the boys really got into it, I really fell in love with the game. And I still don't know a lot about it, but there's so much strategy, and there's so many different situations that so many other sports don't have. Like, I think basketball is like very like reactionary, right? Like it's instinct and this and that, but like how many situations are there? Like there's a guy on first, there's a guy on third, there's this many outs, and like you got to watch for this, you got to watch for that. And I just feel like that's a very hard sport to teach a kid and for them to understand. But it has probably become my favorite sport to watch. Basketball has always been my favorite sport to watch, like professionally. Right. And to play. And I've coached I coached t-ball and baseball for Luca. I've coached basketball for Santino for many years, 2 teams this past year. And for Anthony, I coached flag football. Probably flag football was my favorite sport to coach because it was just like fun. Yeah. Not a lot of pressure. The practices were fun because I would get out there and throw the ball. Basketball was probably the most stressful for me because it was my sport. And it's hard. I'm not a super patient individual. Yeah. And I'm starting to learn that I'm probably a better parent than a coach. So I'm starting to kind of step back a little bit and like kind of release the reins. But honestly, and Karen, same way, she never grew up playing she was a soccer player like your wife. And baseball, we talk to our friends, we're like, oh, baseball, it's got to be so boring to go to those tournaments. I'm like, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Like we enjoy it. You know, a couple of our boys pitch, and that is a very stressful thing to watch your son out on the mound. Yeah, it's like a lonely island. And it's, you're not only feeling for them, but like, I feel this pressure of like the other parents on your team, like when your kid's struggling, you're like, you just want to crawl under a rock. Oh, gosh,
I know it's tough. It is tough. And it's nice to be, it's nice to be a parent and not a coach. And, I mean, I kind of coach for a living, and I didn't want to coach any of my kids, and I kind of been coaching my son Nico.
And you do a great job of it too.
We try. I would rather probably watch from the bleachers, but it's also nice being around the kids. The kids are great, but I know exactly what you mean. The pressures and
because you want them to succeed, and you hate to see them struggle. Although, I mean, that's when they get better, right? Is when they're struggling and they have to dig deep and gain composure and not lose, especially on the mound, right? Like, I think about all the sports out there. Like, you're a quarterback, you throw an interception, right? It's a very short moment. You throw the interception, you're on the sideline, and the defense is now out there. It's gone, right? You're walking kids left and right.
It's amazing.
There's no like, hey, timeout type of thing.
It's amazing, and it's amazing how the kids, they bounce back.
They do, pretty resilient.
I'm so worried about, oh gosh, I hope he's all right. That was a rough outing, and he's out there, like you said, by himself, and they somehow bounce back. And I think that's one of the great things about the sport is, there's a mental toughness you learn at a young age, and no one can bail you out. It's kind of like,
I think it teaches you a lot of life lessons too. It does, right? I mean, long term. Yep. So I think that's 2 out of 3 personal. You have any more?
Well, I notice you attend a lot of Mercyhurst events, and I remember the more we talk, it starts to come back to me. I remember you being at a lot of Mercyhurst events, not only as a athletic trainer, but I remember as a fan. What's it like, from being a student, and a fan to coming back to your alma mater and having, your kids and your wife, now they're attending the games, and they're part of the Mercyhurst family and some of the tradition. What's that like to you? What has that meant to you?
Well, first and foremost, I think walking into that gym was crazy because it's 90 degrees to where it used to be, right? Yep. They reconfigured the Mercyhurst gymnasium, and they literally turned it 90 degrees. But so I took, our boys to the Mercyhurst IUP basketball game this year, and IUP was, I think, ranked number 1 or number 2.
Yep. Yeah.
And Mercyhurst beat them, but it was so cool. Allie was able to get us seats front row, and we're sitting there, and it was just like so exciting to see that competition. And like, you kind of forget how good these athletes are, and they are fast, right? Like when you see something on TV, and we're talking D2, but like these guys and girls are incredible athletes and play at an incredible pace, and they're going up and down the floor. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, I just don't remember that speed. Are they getting quicker, or is it just maybe it's been a while?
I think every year they get bigger, stronger, faster every year. It's amazing.
All sports.
Yeah. And our basketball teams are amazing. They, especially, the runs that Gary's had the last few years, and they're really a special group of kids too. They're not just great athletes, but they're phenomenal in the classroom. They're really great people. Community service to just, from your years, as a student, I just, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, you really notice a lot of these details that, and we hope you're proud of.
Oh, I'm super proud. I mean, I took the boys to a baseball game last year, and then we went to one of the homecoming football games too. So I just feel as they're getting older, and all 3 of our boys are total sports fanatics, it's such a great luxury to have that ability to just go 15 minutes and be on a college campus, a beautiful college campus that, by the way, looks nothing like when I was there. All the new academic buildings. I mean, one of the buildings, I don't even remember the name of it, but I remember my apartment was right there. 4012 Briggs. Yep. It's not there anymore. And the bookstore moved a little bit. Then that building out in front of the library, the new dorm right next to the football field. I mean, there's just so much growth. But I'm extraordinarily proud of being a Mercyhurst alum, and I like showing that to my boys too, because it's like it's that sense of loyalty. I've always been an extremely loyal person, and just being proud of where you came from, because without my time at Mercyhurst and the great professors that I had, Brad Jacobson, Sue, all of the athletic trainers, I would not be where I am right now. hands down, I would not be where I'm at right now. I think I would still be successful, but like nowhere near to the degree. And they just made me so passionate about musculoskeletal care, which is like got that fire burning for orthopedics. So I thank all of them.
It's an amazing group of people. And, you know, I did my grad school at Mercyhurst. I wasn't an undergrad, but it was just something when I came as a coach that I could just sense, you know, that sense of community. Everybody had a minute for you. You know, they had time for you. They wanted to go the extra mile. All the professors that have ever spoke to our recruits and everything they've always told our athletes came true. You know, the path you can take in life. And, you know, we're really proud of you and, you know, what you've become. And I mean,
well, thank you.
Like I said, I remember, you know, you were someone who was always there. You know, you spent your time doing the right things, and it's really good to see, you know, what you've been able to do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So it's role reversal time now. So you get to sit back and you get to answer the questions. I don't know what's easier, right? Answering the questions or asking the questions. So I guess first and foremost, you've been at Mercyhurst now for over 25 years total?
I think this is 25.
Okay. Yeah. And most of those as the head baseball coach. In your 25 years, what of those, I mean, you have 3 pages of your CV resume. What would you say is your most proud accomplishment during that 25 years as the head baseball coach?
That is one of the hardest questions I've ever been asked. That is tough.
And you can give me a couple, because I know that's a hard one for that many years to be able to come back with one.
There's a lot of different, you know, something, I mean, just something simple as, you know, I don't know many unemployed graduates. I mean, our guys do so well in everything they do. Just they're really good dads. They're really good husbands. I mean, if you could roll that all up into one, I mean, that would by far be just the success and the character and the way our guys give back, the tradition. Social media has brought us closer, and the way they bring in, you know, someone who played 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Even when I got to Mercyhurst, the alums that I didn't coach that were just very gracious to me and wanted to help the current students, and they wanted to help, you know, their local baseball players. Hey, go look at Mercyhurst. I had such a, just this whole tradition, you know, we don't have fraternities or anything, but just this whole family aspect of Mercy. I'm just really so proud of that. Mm-hmm. You know, you get to a point where just the seniors kind of look out for the freshmen and you know, and all the way down, and we have this buddy system, and just the way that just the Mercyhurst way is just something I'm really proud of it as a whole. I would say that's you know, the wins and the losses and all that stuff. I mean, that's just, it's great, but it's, you know, we do this exercise every year. We tell the guys, you know, if you could just close your eyes and clap your hands and you're at the College World Series, you don't have to experience any of the season. You just get a free ticket there. You know, would you do it? You know, and you know, a guy or two might raise their hand, and then, you know, we always talk about how, you know, it's the journey, all those moments, like those late practices or the early morning practices, or, you know, cramming for that test when, you know, and you're worried about, you know, well, I have all this other stuff to do, and, you know, picking each other up, and, you know, just all the challenges that come along in the season, all the adversity that, you know, the loss you had that you shouldn't have lost. You think it's over. And then, you know, every great season we've had, there's always been this moment where you think, you know, the sky's falling down and, you know, it's over. And then it's just the way you bounce back. So, obviously the 3 World Series are just, you know, Erie, North Carolina is just an unbelievable place. Is that where it's always held? It's always in Erie, North Carolina. Just some of the greatest people. It's Team USA's training site and their stadium where they host, you know, national events, and it's just amazing how they treat you, and meeting other teams from all over the country, and all the coaches and administrators. How many teams make that? There's 8. There's 8 regions. Okay. It's similar to the Division I. Sure. we're a little more regionalized. So like if you were to be the fourth seed out of Pennsylvania, you wouldn't go to California.
Okay.
You'd play in the Atlantic region.
Sure.
So that's the only difference between Division I and Division II. But we have two regionals and a super regional. Two of our trips to the World Series, we were able to win it in Erie, which was, one was at what's UPMC Stadium.
Yeah.
Now it was Jerry back in 2015.
Yeah.
It was graduation day. All our students were coming out of the.
Oh man.
It was.
Were they at the Warner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just.
Which is right there.
Yeah, it's that's probably one of the, the greatest highlights. Then in 2019, 2019, our field was just about to be renovated. They had started, taking the fence down and everything, and we were the fifth seed. There was no way we were gonna, if we won the regional, we thought there's no way we're gonna host, because there's the super regional, because there's so many teams ahead of us.
Right.
And the sixth seed ends up winning the other regional, so we get to host.
Oh wow.
So we got to host it, and we lost the first game. We had to come back and win two, and that was incredible. It was the last game ever at the old field.
Wow.
Before the renovations. And in 2018, we went. It was in West Lawn in Reading, Pennsylvania, and we had lost 5 regional. They'd host a bunch of regionals. It's a beautiful complex. They're really gracious people, and we were like, every time it came out, it's going to be in Reading. We're like, oh no, Reading. And that last time in 2018, we were huge underdogs. I really don't even know how this happened, but we end up winning that regional and kind of conquering that. Like, we won at West Lawn. Now,
got that monkey off your back.
Yeah, I got that monkey off the back, and just a lot of great memories. So the World Series are unbelievable. Every time a player gets drafted, it's incredible. Every time we just had Chris Valmont pitch in the major leagues. It's our third major leaguer.
Wow.
Since I've been coaching. There were 2 other major leaguers before I became the coach. So there's 5 Mercyhurst in just 50 years. There's 5 guys that play.
Wow.
In the major leagues for Mercyhurst, which I just think is incredible. So it's hard to really say one moment, but
yeah.
There's a lot, a lot to be proud of.
So if you could go back in time, like 25 years, when you were, just coming out of Lewis University, and you were playing professional, independent, is that what you called it?
Yep, it was independent.
Yeah. And I told you, and I sat down and I said, you're going to be the Mercyhurst men's head baseball coach, and you're going to be the head coach for well over 20 years.
Yeah.
And you're going to have all these successes. What would your answer be to me at that point? Because you were in your early 20s.
That's a great question. The truth of it is, even though I had head coaches in college, I just never thought that you could actually coach for a living. I never really thought about it. And I came out here just to maybe to Mercyhurst to get my master's. I think at the time, I still had aspirations of playing pro ball. I thought I was going to go back and, get signed with an affiliated team. And I thought I could just stay in shape while I coached. Just the thought that I could actually do this for a living, I just never really could have imagined it. So I would have I wouldn't have believed you. I would have had no idea that this could happen. But I knew I loved Mercyhurst. I knew I loved it here. I knew I loved Erie. I made friends right away. Some of the guys on the first team were 50 or seniors.
Wow.
So we were the same age.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys on that first team were still really there was guys on the team some of my best friends. And I coached them, and they had a lot of respect for me as a coach. It wasn't we were hanging out and, we had a player coach relationship, but they're still some of my best friends. And, I get to watch their kids grow up, and,
yeah,
so, I never would have believed you. I never would have thought that it was possible.
So, I mean, you've had tremendous success, right? In that 25 years at Mercyhurst, all-time winningest coach in Mercyhurst history, 18 consecutive winning seasons. If you had to narrow it down to your biggest, I want to call it your superpower for coaching, what would it be? And is there an individual or a group of individuals that you can kind of tap on the back and say, thank you, because they helped me gain that perspective or that superpower?
So you've got some really great questions.
Tough, aren't they?
So I started in the Mercyhurst graduate program, and Mercyhurst was just starting graduate programs in general, and they started this organizational leadership, and it was only a certificate, and I was probably in the first class, and I didn't really know what it was, but I was up here and Mercyhurst was paying for it. I thought I would give it a try, and I just remember the first few weeks of the class talking about leadership styles, and I never heard of, like, the professor was talking about like some of the great teachers I've had, some of the great coaches, but they were talking about them in formal terms like servant leadership and transformational leadership and what type of leader are you? And it started hitting me that some of the people that I admired the most had these great leadership qualities. And then I started to think I could be that. Like, I kind of had this perception of coaches because of like yellers and screamers and, hardcore, but some of the best that I had that I enjoyed the most weren't yellers and screamers. And they were these really like servant, like they wanted to help you with everything. And they wanted to try to like, make you your best self. And just going through this program started to just make me really confident in being who I was and not something else. And, just like my dad, he didn't know a ton about baseball, but he would always volunteer and coach. And he was very transformational. He would make people really confident in themselves. He was very good at that. And I had a lot of that in me. And I started to realize that my high school football coach, he's a legend. He's the winningest coach in New York State history, barely raised his voice. And if he did, you would feel like you let him down so much that, you never wanted to do that. And I just started letting myself be like some of the great leaders that I admired. And that's really kind of it. It's a lot of relationship building, wanting to make whether it's, the starting center fielder or the last person on the bench, wanting them to be their best selves. Like we kind of have this saying, there's the cliche, like there's no I in team. We all heard that. Well, we always talk about like, we have a whole bunch of I's in this team. Like there's a whole bunch of individuals that like, if we can get them all to be their best, and their best doesn't have to be all conference. Their best could just be some way to like help the team and like, just move on, do really well in school, move on, just whatever's their best self, like it'll make the team better. So that's kind of been, our philosophy. I believe in servant leadership. It's very important to me that like when you leave our program, you're going to be successful. You're going to get a job. I want to be the first letter of recommendation. And a lot of times we talk about like, if we have to have conversations in the office, it's like, what am I going to write on that first letter?
Right.
Is this something we want to, and it just makes them think about it. And, it really hasn't been hard for me. Like I don't sit back and think about how hard, removing snow from the field has been hard.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff's been hard, but the relationships with the players and like getting the best out of them, it's not hard. Mercyhurst attracts really great kids, and we just get to make them the best they can be.
Yeah.
So I think that's really it. I don't think I know any more baseball than anybody. I mean, I think you're being a little... I like to learn. We do a lot of research. Our coaching convention in our coaches association, ABCA, it's an amazing resource. For what you pay and what you get, just similar to when you were a student, you probably went to the athletic training convention. It's just the clinics you can go to, the people you meet that always want to help you out, the literature, the exhibits where you can go and, see demonstrations. We're kind of nerds for that stuff, to myself and my brother and all the assistant coaches we've had. We go to these things, we really just soak it in, and we just can't wait to bring it back to our guys.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's any secret though. I honestly don't think it's
well, you've developed an unbelievable program, an unbelievable reputation and culture. And I mean, that's something that you should be extremely proud of. And again, I'm proud to be sitting here with you as the head coach of Mercyhurst.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. So personal questions? So you're from New York, right?
Yep.
You said you grew up in Queens.
Yes.
So were you a Yankees fan yourself?
Even though I lived in Queens, we were Yankees fans.
Okay.
So my dad was a big Yankees fan. My grandfather was a Mets fan. We lived, around the corner from each other. But
Did you hate the Mets, or was it?
Yeah, I really didn't like the Mets. I don't know why, but I just didn't. I liked a lot of the Mets. Like I love Darryl Strawberry. I love Lenny Dykstra. I love that era of the Mets. Like I love the players as individuals, but there was just something about the Mets that rubbed me the wrong. I hated the Red Sox more.
Yeah.
But my dad used to call it the trifecta when the Yankees won and the Mets and the Red Sox lost on the same day. It was like the best day ever. So yeah, for some reason, we just never liked the Mets.
And would you go to baseball games quite a bit when you were growing up?
We did. We were
Old Yankee Stadium.
We went to the old Yankee Stadium a lot. It wasn't that tough to get tickets. We bought from scalpers a lot. We would wait till after the first inning and go in a lot of times, but with friends and things like that. But we were lucky. Like my dad and uncles and different family friends would take us to Yankee games as well. But yeah, when we got a little bit older, we would just we'd get the really cheap tickets. When I was in Boston, we would do the same thing. I live right across the street from Fenway Park, and we would just wait till like the first inning. And
would you wear your Yankees gear in there?
Yeah, I'm not really the type that really wants to antagonize anybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you don't strike me.
I was respectful of the Red Sox, and I was I got to play at Fenway too.
Oh wow! When you were at Boston?
Yeah, we got quite a few games.
That's awesome.
And it was.
You ever hit any home runs?
No, I hit the Green Monts a few times. There was the New England All-Star game, and we got to take batting practice. So in batting practice, I got to hit the monster a couple of times, but no, never in a game, no home runs.
So who, was your favorite player growing up and your favorite team of all time growing up? Like, obviously it's going to be a Yankees team most likely, but like what year and who, if you had to say like, this is my all-time favorite baseball player.
My all-time favorite baseball player is probably Don Mattingly. He was a first baseman, left-handed hitter for the Yankees. And
were you lefty?
I wasn't lefty, but I had a real appreciation. There was a lot of articles and things about how hard he worked and what a student of the game he was. And I remember my dad used to make me read the articles, and he used to hit off the tee a lot and just do all this individual work. And my dad was like, "Yeah, you should do that like Don Mattingly." But the Yankees weren't great, for hit during his era. Like right towards the end is when they started getting like Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
They started getting really good again. So we were always rooting for him. We wanted him to. There was that strike year where the Yankees were good, and he probably would have, but they didn't finish the season. So he was clutch. He always got the big hit. And he was not flashy at all. Very humble. So I was a really big Don Mattingly fan. All-time favorite team in baseball. Wow, probably like the 2000 Yankees.
So was that so? Jeter was a young player at that point, right?
Yeah, he was probably like fourth or fifth year, sixth year. That was that Subway series.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really.
I watched The Captain. I'm sure you watched it, right?
Yeah, I watched at least parts of it.
Oh, I watched the whole thing, and I love all those types of series. Like obviously The Last Dance, which our viewers can't see. It's playing on this TV over here. It's playing on the big TV out in the basement.
Yeah.
Huge Jordan. I just love those types of players that were like transformational, generational type players. The Derek Jeters, the Michael Jordans, the Tom Bradys, that just Tiger Woods.
Yep.
They went to that next level, and it was oftentimes because of their diligence, their dedication, their focus. They weren't always, the best athletes, and I think that's definitely evident with like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Right? But
oh,
he was just a competitor.
Yeah.
Right. Gosh.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. That many years. So, all right. Another personal question, more family oriented. So 4 kids. Jillian's the oldest. She's you said 23?
22. Yeah.
22. Your son is then next.
Joey's 17. He's going to be a senior at Pratt.
And he's going to Pitt.
He's committed to Pitt. Yeah.
To play baseball. That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then you've got, what's your daughter's name?
Natalie is 15. She's going to be a sophomore at Pratt.
And she's more of a basketball?
She's a basketball player.
Okay. Does Joey play any other sports other than baseball?
Joey, his love is probably basketball. Like, we're a big
Really?
basketball family. If I probably shouldn't say this, but if I had to choose, I'm a basketball person deep down inside. That's my favorite.
Like
sport.
watching it or playing it?
Watching it play. I played 3 sports in high school. Obviously, I might have been challenged in some athletic abilities, so baseball was probably a better option for me.
You play football too, or what was your
football also,
okay?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thought
See, I'm
about
learning
playing
more.
Football and baseball in college, and I probably could have played some Division III basketball.
Okay.
Which would have been fine, but I had some good opportunities in baseball, and it was probably, of the 3, it was probably my least favorite sport, but
Baseball.
probably, yeah.
Wow.
I love basketball. That's really.
Do
I'm a
you
huge
still
Knicks-
watch it a lot?
I don't miss a Knicks game if I don't have to. It's a curse, and I gave it to my kids. I didn't want to, but we're just all cursed.
They're all Knicks fans.
They're all Knicks fans.
And then
Except
Nico.
my wife's a Bulls fan.
Yeah. We'll get to your wife in a second.
Yeah.
But Nico, he's 12,
He's
correct?
12, right.
And he obviously plays baseball, plays basketball
Plays
as well.
basketball, yeah.
Right.
Also,
So, your wife, she's a Chicago fan. So, how does that work? I mean, you knew her
yeah.
towards the latter,
Yeah.
like championships 5 and 6,
Yeah.
probably, right? For the
Yep.
Bulls. And I won't say that the Knicks were irrelevant at that point. They had a couple great runs a couple years prior to that,
Yeah.
right? Especially when Jordan was out.
Oh, the Bulls had to step on the Knicks every chance they could to get to and it was painful.
Did you hate the Bulls?
I did. I hated them.
Yeah.
I appreciate Michael Jordan. I think the world of him now more than ever. And I don't know that you can compare anybody. I'm not going to say any names. Anybody even close to him. Maybe Kobe Bryant, but
Yeah.
I think he's the most amazing athlete I've ever seen in my life. The most amazing competitor. And so I appreciate him, and I always did. And I had to watch all my friends at Lewis. I think we went downtown for the parade after they won 5 or 6.
Wow.
So
That would have been awesome. Did you ever get to see Jordan play?
I never saw him live. I was never at a Bulls game live. I was at Knicks games during that era, but I don't think I ever saw Jordan live,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, now that I know you're such a huge basketball fan, my third question actually just changed. So, one of my first guests was Bill Spiros. He's a attorney at McDonald Dillig Law Firm, one of my very good friends. And his question to me, I'm going to ask it a little bit differently so that it can be a little bit more active and to me a little bit more fair. He asked me all-time 5, your starting 5, and I'm going to have my starting 5.
Okay.
We can't repeat players. He got to name his 5 first.
Yeah.
And then I won't say the table scraps
Yeah.
because there's a lot of great players, but it became very challenging. So, as my guest, I'm going to let you go first. We'll go position. So your point guard, and they have to play each other. Like my 5 plays your 5.
Okay. Point guard. Can we call Curry a point guard?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You taking him?
I'll take Curry.
Yeah. That was my point guard for,
Sorry.
no, that's all right. So I have to figure out somebody that I think can match up with him because Curry, I mean, obviously he's probably my favorite current player right now. I love, I'm taller, but I wouldn't be tall in college basketball.
Right.
I'm 6'3", but I can't really jump. Wasn't that quick,
Yeah.
but I could shoot back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's why I really love like that Golden State Warriors, the Splash Brothers. So let's see who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go, and I think he would struggle a little bit defensively on Curry, but I think offensively he would, I won't say dominate Curry because Curry's not the best defender. I'm going to go with Magic for my point guard.
Yeah.
'Cause I think you could maybe bring him down in the post a little bit
That's a tough matchup.
and make Curry have to guard him in the post.
That's a really tough matchup. Yeah.
All right. So now what we'll do is like I get the next because I know who you're going to
Okay.
We'll alternate that way. So I'm going Jordan
Okay.
with my shooting guard. I don't think I have to explain anything. And
No, you don't have to.
I mean, I've had debates about the GOAT with LeBron, and I don't even put him in my conversation. I think, quite honestly, Kobe is the closest to Jordan from a competitive standpoint and his game.
Yeah.
Right? He was just dominant.
Yeah.
So
Can I go
your?
Kobe as?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great matchup.
Yeah, that would be a great matchup.
And I think that some games, Kobe's going to make Jordan take it on the chin. And we're talking like their primes, obviously.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now you get your small forward.
Small forward. Wow, that's a tough one. I'll let you go first.
You want me to go first?
I'll let you go first, yeah.
All right. Well, then I'll give you the last two. I'm going Scotty. I mean, I just feel like he is such a good defender, yet a great 1-2 punch with either Jordan or whoever else. He can score, but like I won't say underrated because he was oftentimes defensive first team, right?
Yeah.
But I think most people just thought he's Jordan's running mate, but like he was during his prime could have been any other team's go-to player.
Can we say Giannis is a 3?
I can give you Giannis as a 3.
Okay.
Yeah. We can have some flexibility with this.
Okay.
That's a
I
tough.
just like the matchup.
I like that matchup too.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of Giannis with his brothers in Greece, like just recently on like a family vacation. That dude is jacked. Like you could always tell by his arms, but like he had like a V shape when he didn't have a shirt on. It was just like his lats were huge, and what a freak athlete.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he can get down the floor in like 3 steps.
Yeah.
And no one can stop him when he's going to the hole too.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you 4. You pick your power
4.
forward.
Can we call Dirk Nowitzki a 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that because it's going to give me some latitude to go with someone that I generally wouldn't say is a 4. I think they're 3/4, but I'm going Larry.
Oh, wow.
Because I like the matchup of Dirk and Larry.
That's a really good matchup, yeah.
All right, because they're kind of similar, very similar players.
They are, yeah.
I mean, they both are, I think, extremely smart basketball players, right? Like their IQ is off the charts.
Yep.
I think Bird is probably one of the smartest players. Like his highlights are just ridiculous to watch.
From an athleticism standpoint, I remember wondering how does Bird do it? And I remember when they won the championship, I was like, how is he doing? I mean,
he's getting off the floor this far.
And he was pretty banged up for that, for the championship.
Yeah.
And so that's a very good.
This is going to be a good game.
Yeah,
I wish we could really like simulate this.
Yeah.
So how about I'll give you pick your center.
I got to go Shaq.
Yeah, I figured that's a pretty dominant.
One of the most dominant.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me to even like compete against because so many great centers, whether you're going to say Kareem, Wilt, but like I honestly think Shaq would push those guys around because he just had the size and
in his prime,
there was just who am I going to go with? Might as well go with like Luke Longley or something. No. I mean, it's hard to kind of go against, Kareem being, up until LeBron took the all-time scoring position. Like, I think he had enough of a game that he would keep Shaq honest. Yeah. Right. Like, he could do the sky hook and I think that'd be tough for Shaq to defend.
It would be. So, that's a really good. These are good matchups.
Yeah, for sure. So the next thing that we do is we go into what's called, and you'll appreciate this, a little baseball reference. So we call it the Sawbones 7th inning shoe stretch. So for those of you that know me, I'm a huge sneakerhead. Love my shoes, particularly Jordans, and I ask my guests to come wear either their favorite pair of shoes or a pair of shoes that have meaning to people, and maybe a story. So. What are you wearing here, Joe? So
I chose these Under Armour shoes for this. This has some sentimental value to me because my former boss, Brad Davis, who just left for Mount St. Mary, when he came to Mercyhurst, he wanted to convert Mercyhurst to an all-school apparel contract. And he wanted, he preferred Under Armour. Mm-hmm. He had that at Merrimack. And I was more of a Nike person. And we kind of, as a department, we all had different brands. And we all just looking for the best deal. And I was a little resistant to it. And I really didn't like Under Armour sneakers or footwear in general. Cleats, turfs.
But your point guard's in Under Armour wear.
That is true. That is true. So So anyway, we all had to kind of cave in. He gave us some leverage on like the actual baseball gear. So we still use like the Rawlings and stuff like that. We have a good contract, but footwear, he said, you have to promise me you're gonna go in Under Armour. And I said, but Brad, it's the worst for shoes. And this pair of shoes I have on, I wear all the time. It's the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. So Brad, you were right. Under Armour is a phenomenal company, and these shoes are fantastic. They've come a really long way since the early Under Armour footwear days. And
those look sneaky clean too. Like, do you just get those out of the box, or? I have a wife that's pretty obsessed with shoe cleanliness. Okay. So she finds a way. Whether it's she has some tricks to make sure our sneakers are always. My boys have shoe cleaning kits, and they watch stuff on YouTube all the time. I'm like,
do they really?
Oh, they love shoes. They got that from me, obviously. Karen likes shoes too, but I have way more shoes than she does. But yeah, I thought it was appropriate, being two Mercyhurst guys, to wear the Jordan 1 low Lucky Greens.
Those are awesome.
Little Kelly green. It's not quite matching the Hunter green,
but that was our green back in the day.
It was. I wish they would go back to that. I thought that with like more of that royal blue was a very, very cool combo, and then they went to more of this. Is this Hunter green or what?
Yeah, it's like a Hunter green. Or
and more of like a navy
blue. Yeah,
right. And I mean, it's still a good color combo, but I loved that.
They were really cool. Yeah, we should do some throwbacks
for sure. Yeah, I mean, get some of the old. Basketball jerseys, baseball stuff.
Royal and Kelly was a pretty cool combo. They would make a really nice
put a nice shamrock on the back or something like that too.
Sure. Yeah.
So the next thing that we do, and this is, I'm a little scared now that I hear that you were a basketball player. So we go into what's called the Sawbones Challenge. Okay. Have you seen any of the episodes yet?
I'm not this deep into the podcast. So
yeah, you got bored after the first 10 minutes, and
no, not at all. I love it.
So this is something that I've done from episode 1, and it's fun. We're gonna go outside. We're gonna have a 3-point contest.
Okay, all right.
So, what position did you play in basketball? Don't tell me shooting guard. Don't tell me shooting guard.
No, definitely not shooting guard. I would say one of the rival coaches, who was a famous head coach who also coached baseball, used to call me the football player. So I guess it was probably like a 4.
Okay. So you would get down there and pound it out and get physical.
I thought I was better than that, but the coach said, hey, first of all, no one was allowed to dunk. We were, it was a New York City basketball team and tremendous basketball. And we didn't always have.
Is it Rucker Park or what's the?
Rucker Park, yeah.
Did you ever play there?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in like the games you see on TV,
like
the N1 tour or anything, but yeah, like a pickup game with my friends and stuff.
That must have been pretty cool.
It's fun. You don't think about it when you're, that age, that it's like a famous thing, but we used to try to go to like some of the good parks where there's like good pickup basketball and stuff.
I'm a little worried though, because my record was pretty good here, but now I think he's gonna buzzsaw me here.
You'll be all right, I think.
So, well, let's get after it.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so stay tuned. We're going to do the Sawbones Challenge next, and we'll come back, wrap it up after that. So looking forward to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
All right, it's the Sawbones Challenge. I think this is episode like 7 or so. So we got Coach Joe Spano versus myself. So Joe, the way this works is first to 5. Right, so we alternate shots. I always have my guess. You go first, and we'll just alternate. First one to make the 5th one. Okay. We got Anthony over here. Anthony Molly is our rebounder. I watched Joe warm up, and I think he's a bit of a sandbagger because he airballed his first shot, and then all of a sudden he's just progressively getting closer. Average goes out. You hit in front of him. There it is. I'm streaking. It's like this side row, but then there it is. How was flag football? Jay will make it look good. He's going to edit it out. On your team? No. Come on. All right.
3-1, right?
That's it. That's it. There it is.
On to you.
I love watching them play. So much heart. Uh-oh. There it is. Good matchup. Hey. Unfortunately, I lost my last.
Can I hurt somebody?
Sure. Stay tuned. Sawbones Challenge. Hey, let's have some props for our rebetters. Look at the camera. Give them a thumbs up. All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Sawbones Challenge. As always, again, it was a great day. We're going to conclude this now. As always, what I always try to do is kind of wrap it up and say, you know, where do you see yourself? 5, 10, 15 years? I mean, you've got Nico. He's 12, so I would imagine probably would like to keep him in the area to be able to get through school and off to playing D1 baseball somewhere or getting drafted right out of high school.
You know, we have an expression, you know, one pitch at a time.
Love it.
So when we're dealing with these 4 kids, Tina and I were just always hey, day by day. So hopefully, like you said, they're all getting through college and doing great things. And hopefully, I mean, I love where I am right now. So hopefully we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's such a great perspective because it's very easy to kind of get ahead and focused on like a destination. And when you were talking about what you were so proud of too, which was like the journey. And to me, that's one thing that I've definitely embraced over probably the past decade is just the journey. And I remember in high school, you know, playing basketball, all I wanted to do was I wanted to get to the games. I couldn't stand practice. My senior year, something changed. And I actually think I enjoyed the practices more than I enjoyed the games. Didn't mean that I didn't enjoy the games, but
no, I know exactly what you mean.
There was something about, because I knew it was it for me. I knew I wasn't playing college ball, and I knew it was it, and I enjoyed every moment of it. It was hard, but I embraced and enjoyed that like struggle because I knew it was going to make us better, and I just became more of a leader during that season to like push my teammates when we're running suicides and you think you can't do another one, and you're like, come on, gotta dig a little deeper.
Yeah, it's the best.
So,
the best memories. Yeah.
And the same thing with our boys. It's like one pitch at a time. I love that saying. And next play, right?
Next play,
You got to shake off whatever happened, whether it was an error in a sport or a mistake in your life.
Yeah.
Right. And just day by day, moment by moment, and enjoy where you're at.
That's right.
Right. And I'm enjoying this right now, sitting right here.
This was a good time. Thank you.
Thanks again, Joe. Really appreciate having you.
Thank you.
All right. Best of luck with everything. Let's get.
Thank you. Best of luck to you.
Your 18 consecutive seasons. Is that running right now?
I think it is. Yeah.
So good luck on 19.
Thank you.
So
thank you,
guys, girls. Make sure to tune in and support this guy as well as Mercyhurst Athletics in general. I would love to see you guys come out to some of the games and support the baseball team, all the athletics. So have a great day and make sure to stay tuned because we're going to do our preview for next week's episode as well. And make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you like, maybe have some comments. Oh, and before I go, there is actually one more thing I need to do. One of our guests, Jay's son, actually, the guy that edits this for me, his name's Ty Witoski. He asked me a question, and we'll play that question here, and then I'll give you my response.
Hi, Dr. Molly. My name's Ty Witoski, and recently, while I was watching your podcast, a question came up between you and your guest. What would your all-time NBA team be? And that got me thinking, and a question popped in my head. What would your all-time 3-on-3 team be? 4 players.
So Ty's question obviously was, if I had to do, he saw one of the previous episodes. He'll probably like this episode too, where we're doing, our 5 best players matching up against each other. But he knew that I played 3-on-3 basketball growing up, and I liked 3-on-3 almost more than 5-on-5. I felt like you could do a little bit more. The spacing was better. And he asked me if I had to pick 3 all-time. He actually asked me for 4, so you could have a sub. So my 4 players for a 3-on-3 tournament would be Allen Iverson. And it's going to be funny because you're not going to think that I'm going to go with Ray Allen, and I'm going to go with Karl Malone. And as my starting 3, my 4th guy coming in off the bench, kind of could probably play any position. Great. You got to have a trash talker on your team. And I've got Allen Iverson. I think Ray Allen's a pretty good trash talker. Karl Malone could do his, and he's going to get a lot of rebounds. But Larry Bird is coming off my bench, and he's going to get you some big buckets, some big assists, and he's definitely going to get in your opponent's heads too. So that's my 3-on-3 team. So thanks again for tuning in. Stay tuned for next week. Have a great day. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. David Hutzel. So,
Thanks.
Dave,
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Spent 2 years on an aircraft carrier, the George Washington, and was deployed to the Persian Gulf, and that was very exciting. It was difficult leaving my wife, but the most romantic and happy day of my life was seeing her on the pier with 2 little babies.
Before we get too much further, I mean, are you thirsty? You want a little beverage?
I'm good. I'm actually okay.
Well, I'm going to give you one anyways because it's part of the show. So, truck, actually, I pre-ordered one of the electric Hummer EV trucks 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And they are telling me that now I won't get it until 2025, 5 years. That was powerful. And that was awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
And way more than anyone has ever shared with the 7th inning shoe stretch or probably any other part of this podcast. Yeah. So thank you for being vulnerable.
Sure.
For being open, for being honest.
I have loved some fishing in the outdoors where I'm free. It's where I spent my time before I hurt my hip and my knee. When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. I wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.